You open your eyes before the alarm goes off. That's normal now. It's not because some productivity guru said early risers build empires, it's because you're in bed by 9:30, and your body just runs on its own clock instead of someone else's. Home is a modest 1,900 square foot ranch house, the kind no beachfront agent would ever list. You picked it up 11 years back for $214,000. Today it's worth roughly $390,000, and you've owned it outright, no mortgage, for the past 3 years. Your net worth sits at $2.4 million. Not one person around you has any idea. Not the neighbors. Not your coworkers. Certainly not your sister's husband with the leased BMW who spent last Thanksgiving lecturing you on why buying a home is a financial mistake. You just smiled and reached for the stuffing. You pull on the same style of jeans you've worn for 15 years straight. For identical pairs, nothing more. This isn't about pinching pennies, it's the quiet freedom of never having to think about clothing decisions again. You brew your own coffee at home instead of hitting a drive-thru, which saves something like $1,800 annually. But here's the part nobody mentions: the money was never really the point. The real win was becoming someone who questions a purchase once, does this actually matter to me? And then never has to ask again. While the pot brews, you check the numbers. 90 seconds, tops. That's the only moment all day you'll glance at your finances. $1.71 million is parked in index funds, just 3 of them. A total U.S. market fund, an international fund, and a bond fund that's been quietly compounding since you hit 45. You haven't sold a single share in 19 years. Not during 2020, when markets cratered 34% and your portfolio was shedding the value of a new car every couple of days. Not in 2022, when half the internet swore the whole system was collapsing. You just kept contributing every 2 weeks, like paying rent to your future self. Then there's $390,000 in home equity, debt-free, with the deed tucked in a fireproof box beside your passport and an old photo of your dad. $210,000 sits in a regular brokerage account, your bridge to quitting work before you can touch retirement accounts penalty-free. $62,000 in cash covers 18 months of expenses, doing basically nothing, which is exactly the job it's meant for. Cash isn't there to grow, it's there so you never have to sell investments during a crash just to survive. And $28,000 sits quietly in a college savings account for your niece, something not a single relative knows exists. Add it up and you're at $2.4 million, give or take whatever the market decides to do overnight. You shut the laptop. Markets will move up or down today, and you'll do absolutely nothing about it. That's your real edge. Took 10 years to build that kind of patience, and it cost you nothing but time. You climb into your 2017 Camry, 118,000 miles, bought used for cash 3 years ago. At a stoplight, a brand new lifted pickup truck rolls up next to you. Sticker price, $74,000. Odds are good he financed it, something like $1,100 a month for 6 years. You're not sitting there judging the guy, but you can't help doing the math. That same $1,100 a month, invested at 8% annual returns, turns into roughly $1 million over 25 years. That truck isn't really a truck. It's a future millionaire that's never going to exist. Light turns green, he speeds off, and you take another sip of coffee from a thermos you got free at some conference years ago. Here's the twist people don't expect: you still go to work. Senior project manager, 14 years in, pulling $112,000 a year. Solid income, but nowhere near secretly worth millions territory. Nobody looks at the guy carrying a battered 10-year-old lunch cooler and thinks he could write a check for the parking garage outright. You keep working because you enjoy it, and because every paycheck now is pure bonus. Every dollar coming in is optional, not needed. Think about what that does to how you carry yourself in meetings. When your boss pitches something you think is a bad call, you say, calmly, "I don't agree, and here's why." Honesty is the most expensive commodity in any workplace, and you're the only one who's fully paid for it. 2 years back, you got offered a promotion, 30% more salary, roughly triple the meetings. You turned it down. Your manager looked at you like you'd rejected a life-saving organ transplant. That raise would have pushed your retirement date up by 4 months. The added stress would have shaved off more years than that off your life. This is the real thing money buys, not a yacht, not a watch. It buys the ability to say no. The rest of the morning is unremarkable. Someone books a meeting just to plan a different meeting. You sit through both with the calm of a man who understands this hour won't matter in the grand scheme. Around 10:15, a younger colleague, Dev, 26, smart, quietly overwhelmed, pulls you aside in the break room. "Can I ask you something kind of random? You seem like you've got your finances together." "I'm sitting on $9,000 in credit card debt and I couldn't even tell you what I spent it on." You could give him a speech. You don't. You remember being 26 yourself, carrying $14,000 in card debt that weighed more from embarrassment than from the actual number. Instead you say, "Want the 2 lines that turn things around for me?" Automate your savings before the money ever hits your checking account. And never let a balance sit on anything that doesn't build wealth. That's the whole formula, everything else is just noise. You don't mention you're a millionaire. You never do. But later that day, you mail in the same book someone handed you 23 years back. Sometimes wealth gets passed down in ways no bank statement will ever show. Lunch is leftovers, about $3.50 a plate. Your coworkers are ordering $19 delivery every single day while griping about being broke in the same sentence. You used to feel a little superior about that. Now it just embarrasses you to remember. Somewhere past your first $500,000, the superiority faded and simple indifference took over. Watching other people spend stopped feeling like a competition. You're not eating leftovers to win anything, you honestly just don't crave the $19 version more. That's the part influencers can never package and sell, because it can't be manufactured. After a certain threshold, cutting back stops being sacrifice and just becomes what you actually prefer. The cage was unlocked years ago. You just happen to like staying in the room. While you eat, you read, never financial news. You stopped following daily market commentary back in 2016, and your returns got better the moment you did. That tells you everything you need to know. Nearby, a guy is furiously day trading on his phone, jaw clenched, thumb flying. You feel an odd sympathy. You were that guy once, 8 months in your 30s, and it cost you $11,000 to figure out you weren't the customer, you were the merchandise. Your phone lights up. Your financial advisor calling, kidding, you don't have one. It's your sister. Her water heater just died. $1,400 she doesn't have sitting around. You can hear the strain in her voice, the sound of someone rehearsing an apology for needing help. You remember that exact tone from years ago. "I'll send it within the hour," you tell her. "You're not on your own here." "I'll pay you back," she says. "It's not a loan," you answer. "Appliances break." That's not a failure on your part. You move $1,400 out of your cash reserve, it refills itself automatically from surplus you barely notice is gone. Here's math nobody puts in a video thumbnail. $1,400 is about 0.058% of your total net worth. For your sister, it was a crisis about to land on a credit card charging 27% interest, one that would have ballooned into $2,100 of stress spread across 18 months. The best return you'll ever earn is wiping out an emergency for someone you love. No index fund can compete with that. Mid-afternoon brings a small test. A watch you've had your eye on for 2 years drops to $3,900. Money's not the obstacle, you could buy it the way most people buy chewing gum. It goes in the cart. Then the old routine kicks in. The question isn't can I afford it anymore, that question stopped mattering years ago. It's, will I still care about this in 30 days? Am I buying the item, or the feeling it gives me? And who exactly am I buying this to impress? That third question always takes the longest to sit with. The honest answer, most of the time, is strangers. And your entire financial life has been built on refusing to spend money chasing strangers' approval. You close the browser tab, not through white-knuckle willpower, just clear-eyed recognition. Maybe you'll circle back in a month. The espresso machine passed the same test once, and you use it daily without an ounce of regret. That's the system doing exactly what it's designed to do. The rule isn't there to block you, it's a filter, and filters let the things that actually matter through. Someday someone will stumble onto your net worth and ask what your secret is, expecting to hear about crypto or a family inheritance. There wasn't one. Your dad's layoff made sure of that. No hot stock tip either. Your biggest financial win was never trying to pick a winner in the first place. At 24, you started putting away 15% of a $41,000 salary, about $512 monthly, and it felt like losing a limb at the time. Every raise after that, half went toward lifestyle, half went straight into investments, until eventually the machine was quietly absorbing 32% of a six-figure income and you didn't even feel the pinch anymore. You stayed married. You kept your insurance current. After one early car loan, you never financed a vehicle again. You weren't a genius investor, you were just disciplined enough not to mess with what was already working. 26 years. That's the whole trick. There is no trick, just a long, unglamorous stretch with no shortcuts. Most people give up early because the road offers no scenery and nobody's cheering you on along the way. Compounding is the one miracle that only rewards the people who stop paying attention to it. You crossed your first $100,000 after 7 years. The second $100,000 took 3. The most recent $100,000 took 5 months. There's no scenery on this road, but there is an ending, and that ending looks exactly like an ordinary Tuesday afternoon like this one. You pull into the driveway at 5:40. Your neighbor Rick waves from his front lawn. Rick's got a boat, a camper, 2 brand new SUVs, and a home equity line he's been tapping into. Rick out-earns you. By every outward measure, Rick looks like he's winning. But you'd guess Rick couldn't go 4 months without a paycheck and stay afloat. You don't think you're better than him, his boat gives him memories no spreadsheet can measure. But you've also witnessed the other possible outcome. You watched your own father get let go at 54 with $8,000 to his name and fear written across his face. At 19, in one freezing, unforgettable moment, you promised yourself that would never happen to you. Every matching pair of jeans, every Camry you kept instead of upgrading, every automated transfer, all of it is a 19-year-old keeping a promise to himself. The neighbors just see an ordinary house and an old sedan. They can't see the promise underneath it. Wealth nobody can see is still wealth. Wealth everyone can see is often just expensive background noise. Dinner is with your wife, you didn't do any of this solo. 22 years ago, on your third date, she mentioned she had $6,000 saved and an actual plan. You fell for her right there. For real money arguments across 2 decades, and every single one got resolved the exact same way: a monthly check-in, first Sunday of the month, 30 minutes, coffee, and the numbers laid out openly. No blindsides, no hidden accounts. Financial fights in a marriage are rarely about the math, they're about being caught off guard. You eliminated the surprises entirely. After the meal, you take your usual 2-mile walk, same route most evenings. A podcast host asked earlier that day, "What's your number? When do you finally feel like it's enough?" You blew past your number about $900,000 ago, and nothing changed. No celebration, no fireworks. The target just moved further out, and you were still the same person, walking the same loop. That's the lesson that showed up only after the money did. The finish line was never real. What money actually gave you arrived slowly, years before you noticed. The day you stopped dreading opening mail. The day layoff rumors barely registered. The day you learned to say no. Wealth was never really the dollar figure, it's the absence of problems piling up in your life. A broken water heater, a layoff scare, a market crash, a root canal, none of it moves you anymore. You've become a machine that turns money into peace of mind. That's the entire operation. You read in bed for a bit. Tomorrow holds one meeting, a dentist appointment, and your niece's birthday coming up next week. Someday she'll open a letter explaining exactly what's been quietly compounding for her since the day she was born. That will be the single loudest thing your money ever does. Today, you brought in $430, spent $31, gave away $1,400, and walked away from a watch. Nobody applauded. Nobody even noticed. Tomorrow the market opens, it'll rise or fall, and once again you'll do nothing at all beautifully. Because once real wealth is truly, permanently yours, it stops making any noise. And so, eventually, do you.